Happy Wednesday, everyone. I am so happy that you all are here for another episode of Workshop Wednesdays, where we'll be talking about another awesome data type called dictionaries. Before we dive in, per usual, let's remember that we are confident, creative, and capable coders, as well as people in general. Dictionaries are an interesting data type. They're called dictionaries for a reason. For instance, when we look at a typical dictionary, we'll see a word associated with the definition of that word. We can think of a word as a key that's associated with a value, which is the definition of that word. In dictionaries, we have the following syntax that I'm showing on the screen right now. Let's analyze this. We distinguish dictionaries by the curly brackets, while another data type we'll look at next, called lists, contain their values using a regular square bracket. Dictionaries must enclose their values using curly brackets. This is just a helpful tip for Python to immediately recognize a dictionary. In our dictionary, we see something called a key-value pair. This associates a value with a key. So we can easily access the value associated with a key at any point using some pretty cool syntax that I've shown on the screen. Essentially, this tells Python to look for the dictionary under a specific name and then access the value associated with whatever key you pass in. And the name associated with the dictionary is essentially just whatever variable we have stored the dictionary in. Awesome. So far, we know that Python recognizes dictionaries because they start and end with curly brackets, and that dictionaries contain something called key-value pairs that associate certain keys with values. So let's see a dictionary in practice and go over what we just learned before diving into some interesting additional material. So this is a whole dictionary called Animals that contains 4 key-value pairs that describe my favorite animal, my dog named Georgina. What if I wanted to figure out the value associated with the key animal name? Let's use the same syntax that we used before. So here I am specifying that I want Python to look for the variable called animals, which we know stores our dictionary. And I want specifically to access the value associated with the key animal name. This produces Georgina, which is the value associated with animal name. Okay, wonderful. Great review of what we just went over. Now I want to go over 2 main topics before we wrap up this lesson. First, recall how we emphasized that strings have a specific order in our last lesson. Dictionaries are very different. By nature, they do not have an order. So the same dictionary that we just created, called Animals, if we jumble it around and switch up the key value pairs in terms of the order which they are created, still the same dictionary. They contain all the same key value pairs, they're just technically showing up in different places. But this is fine with dictionaries because dictionaries don't have an inherent order, meaning we can't access any key value pair using the basic indexing syntax we went over last time. Dictionary key value pairs don't actually have any indexes. This is why we have to always use our syntax, dictionary name, and then key name in those brackets to access the values, because these values are exclusively associated with a key and not an index. So this is really important to remember because dictionaries, unlike most other data types, don't actually have indexes. They don't have an order that the key value pairs must show up in every single time. Finally, let's clarify what can count as a key. Could I use any old data type for a key? Interestingly, no. What if I had a key that could change? How could I then figure out what value is associated with that new key? That would be pretty bad if we could just change up our keys whenever we wanted to. For instance, what if I could just decide to swap 2 random words in a dictionary that are associated with 2 entirely different definitions? That would be really confusing, right? So remember immutability. Dictionaries need us to create keys that won't change once they're associated with a value. And remember, values can be any data type in theory, but keys can't. Awesome. So this was a crash course on dictionaries. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your week and tune in for another interesting Spotlight Saturday this Saturday. Thanks so much.